Welcome to your Time Management Revolution. This is Time Management Fixer Helene Segura. In today's episode, I'll be sharing a previously recorded interview during which we're discussing time management and mind management. Enjoy!
Coming up on today's show.
No matter if you're digital or paper, you still get to physically mark off something from your list.
Let's break it down a little bit. Let's talk about some of those things that can really go in and kill off some of that inefficiency.
But it adds up to precious time. And if we already feel like we don't have enough time during the day, we can't afford to lose that. So with email, make sure you turn off the notifications and choose when you would like to pop to get your fix.
How to assassinate inefficiency today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized, the show that brings you the best organizing tips, advice, and behind-the-scenes stories from the top professional organizers in the nation. I'm John Hunt from Smead.com, and today we're going to talk about how to assassinate inefficiency. We've got that famous hit woman herself, Helene Segura from Living Order SA, to come in and talk to us about how to get more efficient. Now, if you'd like to know what we talked about in this program or any of our podcasts, you can visit our podcast page at smead.com/podcast. I'll repeat this information at the end of the program today, but for now, let's get into our interview with Helene Segura on today's episode of Keeping You Organized, brought to you by Smead. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Everyone probably feels a little inefficient at certain times. And today we've got some great tips for you on how you can go do a hit job on those things that are keeping you from being efficient. And who better to bring on than Helene Segura, livingordersa.com, and author of The Inefficiency Assassin, a great new book. And Helene, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, John. How are you?
Awesome. Well, I'm real excited to get some tips today on how we can, be more efficient. But let's kind of talk about some of those things that can really go in and kill off some of that inefficiency. So where do you want to start?
Well, we could start with the calendar because that's where a lot of people really struggle. And then we can move into email and some of the other tasks we have. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. Calendars are, some people use them well, other people don't use them at all. So what are some great tips for being efficient with your calendar?
With your calendar, since if you're already using one, you probably already have some appointments on there already. You can start with something simple like a day. Choose what the top 3 tasks are that you need to complete the next day and schedule that into your calendar. Make the super long to-do list with 20 million things on there, even though it's only humanly possible to maybe finish 5 or 6 of them. At the get-go, we tend to set ourselves up for failure by creating these super. Instead, we need to narrow it down to those need to get done, so that way we don't get in trouble at work. Or if we run our own business, it will help us move ahead in our business and get those scheduled. Now, I don't know how much time to give to those tasks. So what you want to do is just give a rough estimate. What's the first number that pops into your head? And then that way you have plenty of time allotted to, you're more likely to finish all of it within.
Yes, and some people like to, they call it margin or whatever. They like to put some space between things. Is there a amount of space that you would recommend? So just in case you didn't estimate quite as well, you can at least have some space in between there?
And to doubling your estimated amount, I want to add a cushion of maybe 15 to 30 minutes in between the major tasks that you're working on. So if an opportunity pops up or a fire pops up that you need to put out, you have room in your day for that. You want to schedule in is your commute time to and from. Not all meetings take place in an office, sometimes elsewhere. So if you build in your commute times and that extra padding on top of the commute times, that will also help, because it's too difficult if we try to schedule out every single minute of our day, because then we feel totally stressed if our day doesn't go as planned. But you do want to have enough structure in there so you have a lot of time for those most important done.
Okay, so now that's maybe your top 2 or 3 things. We have a little plan maybe to take care of the interruptions or the things that come up. Now, when you're done with those tasks, let's say we're on that day, how do you kind of mark them off your list? I mean, do you still keep another to-do list and cross them off, or maybe you're not done completely with it?
Well, if possible, let's say you're working on a long-term project. On your to-do list, you have listed steps within that project, so that way you can cross off the steps, even though you can't cross off the whole project yet because you're still working on it. For people who love pen and paper, then you can physically cross off your list once you finish them. And if you're digitally inclined, if you're using something like a Word document, you can use the cross-out feature there within the text, or you can use check marks. So no matter if you're digital or paper, you still get to physically mark off something from your list, and that's part of the celebration.
All right, just a quick confession. Are you a digital calendar person, or do you use a paper or a combination?
I am definitely a hybrid. Do better planning, I need to do that on paper. I'm what's called a global learner, where I need to see the big picture, what's happening before and after, so I can make sure that I have enough time on the proposed day in order to get something done. But then digitally, it's easier for an assistant to have access to my calendar. I can also look at it on my phone if I need to. So I use both. And by using both, that also acts as a backup plan. I don't have this worry in the back of my mind that, oh my goodness, I've forgotten something, because I have 2 forms of a calendar. And so they serve as each other's backups.
How do you put one thing on one and vice versa, I guess? Do you always kind of start with the paper, then add to digital, or do you maybe you're out and about, you add to digital and you go back? Or do you have a process for that?
I actually do both of what you mentioned. If I'm working, I start the planning with the paper calendar because I can spread it out on my desk. But if I'm on the go and I don't have time to take out my paper calendar, I just jot something down into my phone. Now, the key is day before I close out work, I look at both the paper calendar and the digital calendar to make sure that whatever information I've captured in both places gets put in the opposite place. And that also acts day. I know what's happening, and I make sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
Okay, that's great. Any other calendar tips before we move on?
I would don't feel compelled to use exactly what your friends are using, because it's different. So talk to your colleagues and your friends and ask them, why do you like this paper calendar, or why do you like that digital calendar? And start thinking about what your top characteristics are that you need in a calendar, and you can base your calendar choice on that. And then most importantly, make sure you actually use it, because a lot of people carry around calendars but don't use them, and that's not very helpful.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to take a quick break now. We've kind of covered the calendar. When we come back, I want to get into some of those other time-oriented things and things that make us inefficient. We're with Helene Segura from livingordersa.com talking about how to assassinate inefficiency, and we'll be right back. Would your family be able to easily access your important documents for a major life event? Having your key life documents organized helps ensure that your wishes and assets are managed, retained, and distributed as needed while being less stressful for you and your loved ones. The Life Documents Organizer Kit helps you to organize and store key life documents like wills and trusts, healthcare directives, investment and retirement plans, marital documents, key personal contacts, and more. Life events that might trigger a need for these documents include a health condition where someone may need to take over certain responsibilities, or decisions regarding care or communicating your wishes regarding your assets. And access to these important documents is key. The Smead Life Documents Organizer Kit is divided into 6 color-coded sections. Each section contains individual folders that pertain to that section. The Smead Wheel of Organization provides an easy reference and guide to recommend what documents should be stored within each section. The Life Documents Organizer Kit has the flexibility to expand by adding additional categories that are specific to your own situation. Being prepared can alleviate your own stress and the stress of others. Keep your life and the documents that matter most in order with the Life Documents Organizer Kit. From Smead, keeping you organized. We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about how to assassinate inefficiency, and we brought the ultimate hit woman herself, Helene Segura from livingordersa.com. Helene, we talked about the calendar before the break and how we use the calendar to, put on those important 3 things for the day and get a little bit of control over our efficiency. What are some of the other things we can do outside of the calendar to get more efficient?
One, turn off your notifications from your tablet, your laptop, your phone, from everywhere, because that's one of the top distractions that we have during the day. And I know that people who are addicted to their phones are probably rolling their eyes right now. No, I can't turn it off. But consider this. It takes the brain an average of 60 seconds to restart anytime we're interrupted. And the average adult gets over 110 emails or texts each day. So if you get interrupted that 110 times, we're allowing our brain to shut down for 110 minutes out of the day. And it doesn't happen all at once. So it's not like we're sitting there thinking, oh, an hour and a half. No, these are time leaks. You lose a minute here and a minute there, but it adds up to precious time. And if we already feel like we don't have enough time during the day, we can't afford to lose that. So with email, make sure you turn off the notifications and choose when you would like to pop to get your fix. So you can check your email once an hour, or you can check once every 10 minutes. But the point is, it's your choice and you're not being interrupted.
Right. I enjoy my daughter, 6:30 in the morning, looking at her phone. And I go, come on, now people can't be sending you stuff at that time of day. But anyway, that's just the way we do get addicted to those kinds of things. What other tips do you have as far as getting a little more efficient with our time?
Well, going back to email, since so many of us have email challenges, when you do check your email, that could group the senders, and that way you can see conversation threads all at one time. It's really a time saver because you don't have to scroll through your entire inbox to see where all of the information is. If you already use Gmail, there is a nesting feature. All of the emails within one thread can be nested in one search. That in itself will save time, as well as even before diving into reading email, you can just check mark all those emails that you know are spam or sales, or the information doesn't pertain to you, for opening and get rid of 10, maybe 15 emails all at once.
Yeah, that's a great tip there, too. I know Gmail has a little bit of that filtering kind of built in, because sometimes your important messages end up in the promotions tab. But getting that, and some people, I know, like that nesting feature, I don't necessarily like it because it gets a little confusing to me, but I can see how it would give you fewer entries in your inbox and therefore maybe not distract you as much.
Right. And for a lot of people, they have a psychological hang up on the number of emails that are in their inbox. If you were to have unnested emails, you might have 500 inbox, versus if you nest them, you could knock down the number to 100. So just from that psyche alone, it can be very helpful not seeing such a huge number when you open up your inbox.
Yeah, and I think some of it, too, is having the discipline of not just replying to the last email if you have a new subject you want to talk to them about, because you could have a subject line that was on there from 2 weeks ago and you just keep replying back and forth, but you kind of have to start a new message when you have a new thought, right?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. It's really important to have a subject line that defines what the conversation is about, because that is enough. You have to do a search of your inbox and try to locate specific information. So you're exactly right. Anytime there is a change, go ahead and change that subject line as well.
Yeah. I know some people use the subject line as just where they're going to put their quick thought or their short message, and they don't even put a text in the email. They just put everything they need to say in the subject line. Have you heard people doing that?
Yes. And in fact, if you do, the three letters you use after your brief message are EOM, end of message. So that way a person can just literally glance and never have to open your email. They read your message, see the EOM, and know, okay, everything's taken care of. And you can go ahead and delete that email or archive it if you need to save it for proof later.
All right, let's move on to our next tip here. We're kind of getting down to near the end of the show, so I want to get at least one more good solid one in there.
Sure. I'd like to talk about paper.
Oh, paper. We love paper around here.
Of course you do. The fact that we're supposed to be a digital society, next to email, one of the next biggest challenges with productivity is paper, because there's still so much. And since a lot of us are visual, we're afraid of putting, because we might forget something. So if you fall into that category, you might consider using a sorting file and have folders within those files. So that way you're visible to you by subject, but they're not scattered all over the place. They're very easy to grab and put back when you need something. And one of my favorite paper products is the box bottom hanging files. When you have so many papers within one project, it's so much easier to use those box bottom files instead of using the narrower hanging files and having everything just fall all over the place.
Yeah, those things are really handy, and it gives you a lot more expansion, so they're not, hitting the top of the file cabinet or whatever. On your sorting file, do you recommend having that maybe on top of your desk, or can it be in a drawer?
If it's going to be active projects, I recommend either having it, or if you have an L-shaped workspace, you can have it off to the side. So for example, I'm right-handed, so I'm right side of my desk for all of my work, and therefore I keep the project hand side, so that way when I need to work on a certain project, I can just reach over to my left and bring it over into my workspace.
Awesome. That's great. Well, we have just a few minutes left. First, I want to talk about the book. Give us kind of an overview of the book and what we can expect to learn from it, and how people can get a hold of it.
Sure. This book helps you tell your time, no matter what your learning style, and the parts of the chapters that are formatted just for you. There are those people who learn that way. List of tactics, strategies for every situation. And this book is built on the last 10 years of work that so if there is a productivity roadblock you have faced, for it in this book. And for those who are interested, they can go to theinefficiencyassassin.com, and it gives an overview as well as all of the different places where you can purchase it.
Great. And we also want to give a little plug out for Living Order SA. You still have time to help people get organized. Talk about your services. Is it just local, or do you do virtual as well?
Well, and I also travel across the country to either do individual consults, or I do keynoting and training for companies.
Awesome. Great. And so folks, livingordersa.com. Helene, it's been great. I think we've gotten out there and made a couple hits on some of those inefficiency things, and we'll have to, that maybe gives us more time to get you back on another podcast. What do you think?
Absolutely. I would love that. Let's slay some more lost time.
Great. Okay, folks, no excuses now. You've got the weapons you need. Go out and assassinate that inefficiency and give yourself enough time to come back for our next episode of Keeping You Organized. Keeping You Organized is brought to you by Smead Manufacturing. Visit us at www.smead.com. Smead has been dedicated to finding innovative ways to help you get organized for over 100 years. We are a woman-owned business, and the majority of our products are made right here in the USA. If you enjoyed this episode of Keeping You Organized, we would love to get your feedback. You can do that by leaving a comment at smead.com/podcast or on the iTunes page for this show. We also encourage you to let others know about this show by mentioning it on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. You can find out complete information about what was talked about in this episode, plus see links to all of our podcasts by going to our podcast page at smead.com/podcast. Keeping You Organized is produced by Leanne Wright, executive producer Gail Taylor, technical director Ben Schmidt, and I'm your host John Hunt from Smead.com. Keeping You Organized is copyright 2016, Smead Manufacturing.